Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. So Dhamma friends, these last 9 days we've taken a couple of journeys, one back in time to the beginning of our mind, and others are walking through the forest. So I thought that the end of the retreat for this closing talk would be appropriate to talk about climbing the mountain. Now there's a metaphor for climbing a mountain, and so imagine that you are living at the base of a mountain, like maybe in Oberstdorf, but could be any place else. And maybe you never bothered climbing the mountain before. You thought it was it's too much difficult. And so you were content just to drive around the streets, to drive to where you work, drive to visit your Uncle Herman or other relatives, or go to the supermarket, and, getting caught in traffic jams, dealing with honking horns and, pollution and so on. But, you just thought that was all there was to living there. You never bothered, exploring around. And so you used to have a friend who used to come over on a sunny Saturday or Sunday in the morning, come over at 7 o'clock in the morning and knock on your door and say, "Hey, come on, let's go climb the mountain." And you used to kind of yawn, and turn over and go back to sleep. So this may have happened a long time, maybe over a couple of years. But then that person comes around again, knocks on the door, very beautiful, warm, sunny morning. And, "Come on, let's go climb the mountain." And finally he said, "Okay, I'll climb the mountain with you." Just to get this person off his back. So he gets ready, and then they start to go out the back door of the house, and there's a long alleyway from his back door to the foot of the path leading up the mountain. So as they go outside, already you could hear, people shouting back and forth, and their families, in their houses nearby. And the smell of the garbage in the alleyway, you could smell that, and the dogs were rummaging through the trash cans, and the trucks were starting to honk their horns and go through the village. So you kind of, quickly walk down the alleyway, and maybe a dog chases you a little bit, tries to bite your pant leg, and you shake it off, and then finally you get to the trailhead. Then you start walking up. And after you clear the rooftops, the air's starting to get a little fresher. And as you climb a little bit more, the noise from the people shouting or talking, the traffic, and the pollution not stinging your eyes so much. And so you keep on climbing up, and every maybe 300 meters or so, there was a bench. And you take a pause, you sit down on the bench, then you kind of look out, around the village. And you start to see things that you hadn't seen before. Like maybe you saw a park out in the distance with shady trees and swans swimming on the lake. You say, wow, I didn't know that. I got to remember that one for the next hot day. And as they keep on climbing up, every so on, there's another bench. You sit down, and each time there's a wider panorama. You see more and more of the city, and seeing different ways that they can move around in that city. See a new way with less traffic that they could go to the work site. And a new way to, he discovered a new supermarket that was, he didn't know about. And a new way to, go to Uncle Herman's house. And so little by little, with less potholes and traffic, so you started to see new possibilities. Oh, look, there's a bowling alley over there. I didn't know that. So the person sees new possibilities. And then finally he gets up to the top, and he enjoys that panoramic view. Everything is very peaceful. The birds are singing, and hardly can hear any of the traffic from down in the village. But he couldn't stay on the mountaintop forever. And so they had to start going back down. And as soon as they start going back down, they lose that panorama, that wide vista and panorama of the mountaintop. And as they kept going down further and further and further, those wide views started to get narrower and narrower, and the traffic and getting more. And then he starts worrying about, well, I've been up here 2 hours, I have to go check my emails, and other thoughts came into the mind. Then he got down to the bottom, to the alleyway, and starts walking back to the house. And then some dogs came running after him and tried to bite his pant leg, and he shook them off. And then he, kind of hurrying up, and he stepped in some dog doo-doo, and he got upset. And there was garbage laying on the street. The dogs had knocked all the garbage out into the street, and the boom boxes were blaring. And so finally he gets back into the house, and hurries to get back in the house, and immediately goes to his computer and starts surfing the internet, checking the emails. And then when he gets done with that, he checks all of his phone messages, and very quickly he forgot all about the view from the mountaintop. And he got carried away and back into his life. Until about 2 weeks later, it was like 40 grad in the city, 90 degrees, 95 degrees. And the power went out, no power. The fan couldn't work, the air conditioner couldn't work. He's sitting in there sweltering, and then all of a sudden he remembered, my gosh, there's a lake with swans and shady trees. Where is that? I gotta find that. And so somehow he gets a map of the city and checks it out, and kind of sees a little blue circle on the outside of the city. And he goes out to that lake. There's not too many people out there. A nice cool pond with lily flowers, and he goes in there and takes a nice dip, cools down, and he gets out of the water and he sits under a nice shady tree, and he brought a little bag of breadcrumbs, and the swans came up. He fed the swans, and he had a very nice day. Really enjoyed himself. So that's similar to a meditation retreat. So when you go on a meditation retreat, especially like a longer retreat, like a 10-day retreat, it's like climbing a mountain. But in this case, the mountain of your mind, or you could say even the mountain of your body and mind. So, as you sit in a good posture and you start to be aware of your posture, that's sort of the mountain. You start feeling that. And then as you do the breathing, it brings you into that, closer to the mountain. And then you start, exploring the body and sensations, and maybe getting some concentration, some good awareness. You start to experience the mind quieting down. You can start enduring pains a lot more than maybe you could before. And so you start to discover new ways that you can actually, live in your body and mind without creating a lot of unnecessary problems and suffering. So like when you came to the retreat, maybe some of you hadn't practiced too much meditation before, maybe you hadn't practiced any yoga, and then you learned about 3-part breathing is lungs. Oh my God, I got lungs. Wow, I can breathe. I could hold my air in, 5 or 6 seconds and feel the Empfindungen, the life force sensations. And then you did some bending and stretching. Wow, I actually have a spine. Can actually move. And as you did the yoga, your body got a little bit looser perhaps, and you started to feel more kind of energy and awake. You didn't fall asleep so much in the meditation. And then you learn how to just keep your mind in the body and to feel the subtle vibrations of the body and observe your thoughts, let them go. And hopefully some of you had that, that quieting effect to center the mind, and the mind becomes like a still lake, a pool. In the cool breeze of maybe some sukha and piti, arises, like you're sitting under a cool, shady tree on a hot day. So like that, you start to learn different ways that you can actually enjoy your own body and mind. You actually you experience some quiet place in the mind, when before it was maybe always thinking of the past and the future, getting caught between desires and aversions and other neurotic thoughts, and just sort of running around with your eyes glued to the floor. And maybe you practice walking meditation and standing meditation. You realize how to take pauses between your movements. Wow, I didn't know that people could do that. That's pretty neat. You can actually stop and stand for 15 minutes and feel the body and bring your mind back to the present moment. So again, like that, you saw different possibilities to use. But now, just as you couldn't stay on the mountaintop forever, you can't stay in the meditation retreat forever. And now you're going to be going back home. And probably already some of you are starting to think about all the emails that have piled up on your computer, or all the phone messages. And even already you probably started thinking about what you're going to do when you get home. And then when you get home, probably just like the man and the person in the mountain, you'll get busy back in your daily life. And that vision, whatever little visions and insights that you got from the retreat, will gradually, that window of the mind will gradually, close. And you get caught back in your work. Maybe you're on a retreat for 10 days, you had to get somebody else to cover your work at your job site, or, other types of help. And so you get busy making up for lost time. People are calling you up, hey, come on, let's go here, go there. Let's go to a party, there's a great party this weekend. You get all these pressures of your old friends. And so, you get busy again until you start to have a nervous breakdown, where you start getting caught up in bad habits. You get the stress of the life and friends and other people trying to tap into your energy. And so then you remember about meditation, yoga. Yeah, that was good. Let me try to get back to that. And so little by little you come back and you start to practice again. So that's what happens to people on retreats, because, as I mentioned, I've been leading retreats for almost 40 years, and I've seen that happen to people over and over again. So how can a person, try to maintain the momentum or the practice of meditation they were doing in the retreat, to maintain that in their daily life? Now, some of you might have already started to make a little schedule about, I'm going to sit for, 2 periods a day. I'm going to get up in the morning, I'm going to do 30 minutes of yoga, I'm going to do 30 minutes of meditation. Then in the evening, I'm going to do some little bit of yoga and some meditation. And maybe some of you would be able to do that. But what often happens, you get home and, as I already mentioned, you get busy doing things. But maybe you will sit for 2 times a day or do a little yoga. But after some days or a week, because of the stresses and other things that are pulling at your time, the first thing that usually happens is the evening meditation goes out the window. And because you might have been busy during the day, you're too tired, you come home and you think you don't have the energy to sit for meditation. All you want to do is drink a beer and watch some horror show on a TV or something. Watch the news a bit and then go to sleep. And then some days later, a week later, the morning meditation that you did maybe dropped from 45 minutes to 30 minutes. And a few days later, that meditation will drop from 30 minutes to 15 minutes. And then before you know it, you're going out the door to go to work, swigging down your last cup of coffee, and you pat the Buddha on the head, and you say, you meditate for me. And that becomes all of your meditation. Oh, yeah. Sound familiar? Okay. So, unfortunately, this is what happens to a lot of people. And so what can be done to try to prevent that from happening? Well, a lot of people think if they can't meditate 2 times a day, it's kind of all or nothing. Or at least one period. They think they have to sit at least 30 minutes or an hour to make it any use. But usually most meditation teachers after a retreat would tell you the best way to try to maintain at least some semblance of practice, to be able to at least sit and comfortably and not think it's a burden, not thinking, oh, I have to meditate because, Bhante told me I have to sit, that you want to sit. But so the morning meditation is the most important because you get up, the morning meditation helps to set up the vibration in your nervous system. And also the yoga. The yoga is also very most important to do. If you're going to do yoga and meditation, a kind of rule of thumb, if you only have an hour to spend for your practice, then 20 minutes yoga, 40 minutes meditation, or half and half. But a lot of people say, well, I'm going to do 55 minutes of yoga and 5 minutes of meditation. No, it should be the other way around. Because you can live without exercise, but you can't live without, you have to live in your mind. But anyway, in the long run, the meditation will be more important than the yoga. But maybe not. Each person is different. But anyway, the practice in the morning is the most important to set up the vibration in the nervous system, hopefully be more mindful, be more relaxed, so that when you go out for the day, you'll be able to start out in a more relaxed way. And in the evening, in the morning, the best kind of meditation is basically like the awareness of breathing and the body awareness, and the breathing and the posture and being aware of the body sensations, getting your attention centered and grounded, in the breathing, the body, the present moment, kind of learning how to let go of the thoughts of the future or the past, and, kind of touch base with that vibration of the present moment awareness. But that will normally wear off by the time the mid-morning comes around. And you start getting phone calls from different people, and like maybe at 9 o'clock you get a call from the doctor saying the test that you had came out positive, and oh my gosh, and you get a little bit stressed from that. And an hour later, you get a call from the school saying your son or daughter, skipped school that morning. What? And I saw them go to school. And maybe in the afternoon you get a call from the police department saying one of them got picked up for smoking marijuana. And so like that, you get all these stresses during the day, or have some conflict at work with your colleagues over various things, or the boss. So the effects of that morning meditation may quickly wear off. So that's why the evening meditation is important, because the evening meditation is time then to try to let go of that stress that you might have accumulated during the day. And also, especially like to practice forgiveness and metta. So if anybody crossed you during the day, or you had done something unmindful and maybe upset somebody, you can start your meditation by, forgiving any person for having done something to you, and forgive yourself if you did something to upset somebody else, and then send both yourself and others the metta, sending out, may I be well and happy, free from suffering. May all beings be well and happy, free from suffering. So like that, hopefully then you would let go of those negative thoughts and be able to have a peaceful sleep without having any dreams, bad dreams coming up. So that is kind of like a daily meditation practice that would be good for, and you have to set your own time. And each person is different. You all have different schedules and so on. different living arrangements with family or friends, and all that, has to be taken into consideration. But apart from that, even so, but if you're one of these people that is only able to meditate once a day, then there's another practice that we've come up with. It's called the M&M. And this is a really valuable practice, especially for lay people. And M&M stands for a minute meditation, or a minute of mindfulness, or a mini meditation, however you want to call it. But it's a specific training where you train yourself to stop every hour during the day for 1 minute. And whether it's between errands that you're doing, or it's after you check your email before you check your phone messages, or vice versa, pause. Just bring your attention to the body. It could be while you're sitting, but even while you're standing too. Even having just finished putting water on to boil for your morning coffee before rushing to do something else, just pause and take a 3-part breath. A deep, slow breath. Really feel the lungs filling up, hold the air in the lungs for a few seconds to feel those subtle vibrations, then slowly let out the breath. And that's a almost immediate way to relax. And if you did just 3 of those deep, slow breaths, that would already be 1 minute. But the point in that is that you let go of that neurotic push to the future, which most people have. It's like most people, they get up in the morning and it's like they have an invisible hand behind their back saying, go, 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 faster, faster. And they hardly ever pause during the day. So stopping for 1 minute, anybody can really stop for 1 minute. But if I ask a normal person in the middle of the day, hey, let's stop for 20 minutes and let's go and sit down and meditate. Say, 20 minutes? Impossible. Too many things. But if I asked you to stop for 1 minute, you'd say, 1 minute? Oh, what? 1 minute? Well, I mean, you'd have to be pretty foolish to think you can't stop for 1 minute, right? Because people waste so much time during the day trying to clean up their messes, right? And so in the sake of having too many things to do during the day, they rush around and they get in accidents. They knock over a bottle of ink and then have to spend 30 minutes cleaning that mess up on their desk. Or they trip over something because their mind was in the future, not walking where you were going. And, sprain your wrist. So we wind up, spending a lot of time sort of cleaning up our messes. So one of the best times to do the M&M is when you first wake up in the morning. Because a lot of people, when they wake up, maybe their alarm clock doesn't get up, they wake up and they realize, oh my gosh, I'm getting late for work. And so they get up real quickly and kind of jump off the bed or run to the bathroom, and then they trip over something left on the floor by their roommate or kids, and then injure themselves, as I mentioned. Or they go into the bathroom and they open the cabinet and they see the last of the shampoo is used up by somebody. Then you get upset by that. And as I mentioned, down in the kitchen and finding things, we're getting upset very easily. So the best time is when you wake up. Actually, try to be awaking, either whether it's your alarm clock goes off or something else. Actually, try to be aware of waking. You gotta be mindful of your eyes opening. And if you can, just kind of slowly, mindfully turn or whatever you have to do to lift the body up and to put the legs over the bed and then stand up. And do an M&M there. Maybe combine it with that yoga exercise I was teaching about, breathing in and doing that and really getting the energy to move in the body, even just one of those. And kind of just, do that M&M there, pause. And remind yourself, don't rush. Don't rush. You can see that impulse to want to rush. Relax. The world will wait 1 minute. And then mindfully take a couple of slower steps. And then if you have to move faster, okay. But at least you set up that idea in the mind about doing the minute pauses. And then take those pauses again, as I just mentioned. After, finishing your work in the bathroom, before rushing downstairs, do an M&M. After you put the coffee or the water on to boil, pause and do that. After washing the dishes, pause. Like that, you'll find that that's very valuable. And then, when you're going to work, and when you park your car to go to work, or even if you're on the subway, the S-Bahn or U-Bahn, you can practice just doing some deep breathing on the S-Bahn if you get a seat, right? And you can see all these people running in and out of the subway, and just try to be aware of hearing, seeing, breathing in, sitting, breathing out, sitting, at least as much as you can, and try not to let what other people are doing, distract your mind. Or if you're driving a car and parking somewhere, as you get out the car door, you close the door, pause a moment before rushing off in the store or someplace else. Take a deep, slow breath. Keep reminding yourself, don't rush. This time, feel that tension in the body. Try to let go of that. Take a deep, slow breath, and then continue what you're doing. And you try to do that once an hour during the day. And you can set a beeper on your watch. They have apps now that you can do that will remind you, but even just a beeper with a quacking duck or something, you hear that, oh yes, stop what you're doing, just freeze in your tracks like a statue. And just, come to the body, take a deep, slow breath. And in that 1 minute, you can practice metta. You can send out, metta vibrations to all these people that are running around, and getting upset. Send them metta and compassion. And also, when you're in the supermarket, I don't know, but, in America we have these huge supermarkets. 15, 20 aisles. And people have big baskets and they're, going up and down and filling them up. But anyway, so you can practice, just some slow walking. Instead of rushing like other people are doing, you can kind of just practice the Vipassana shuffle, stepping. You don't have to walk too slow, and just be aware, looking for the things, and you're looking at all the boxes of cereal, trying to think which one you're going to get, so you reach out to get the last box of Cheerios, and somebody's hand shoots in from this side and grabs that box, and anatta, emptiness, and see your reaction. But anyway, so kind of just make enough time when you go somewhere. The problem is people wait till the last minute. Then they got to do something in a rush. Right? So give yourself, time to do that. And then when you get out to the checking line, the checkout line, you're going into the 15 items or less line. And then there's somebody that has a full basket over here and they're coming and wanting to, go into that line. You can see your reaction. But instead, practice compassion. Maybe that person has a couple kids at home that are waiting to get home, or it's a Pitta, please. So you can practice compassion like that and feel good about doing that. Or you're standing there, and the cashier is fumbling with that roll of tape, in the machine, and getting frustrated, and other people waiting there, they're getting frustrated. Send metta. May they be well and happy, free from suffering. And then the rack of magazines on the other side. You can see the eye getting... Michael Jackson was reborn. Oh my gosh. So keep your eyes in your head. And then when the person in front of you steps up, just be aware, okay, stepping. Just be aware of any tension or stress, negative thoughts arising in your mind, trying to criticize other people about what they're wearing or how they're behaving with their children. Because our mind's always wanting to criticize and compare and judge. Right? That's a common activity of the ego. And it helps us strengthen our sense of self too. But anyway, so like that. So you can have fun in the supermarket. You can make Dhamma fun. A lot of people think Dhamma's a drudge. Oh, I have to follow 5 precepts. I have to get up in the morning. I have to walk slowly. But you have to know how to make it fun. And there's another example I give about going to the airport. People, again, they leave going to the airport to the last minute. And they get there and they have to rush to go check in and then go through the immigration. But instead, if you take your time and arrive early, and when you're walking down those long corridors, you can practice the, vipassana shuffle, pulling your suitcase behind, just kind of stepping. Not too slow that somebody calls the ambulance, but... but not rushing either. So I do that a lot. And people are rushing by me like that, and the people that just got off the plane, they're rushing by that way. So sometimes I see a lady with a couple of children, walking down this way, and they're getting close to me, and I'm walking, kind of mindfully, and the child says, "Mommy, who that? Who that?" She says, "Don't look." So I'll kind of laugh, and so anyway, so those are just different ways of learning how to enjoy life in your own body and mind a little bit more, and how to keep your toe in the door of the mindfulness. And especially those M&Ms are really powerful. But you can't just practice 1 or 2 a day. It's not going to probably help you too much, although it might in a certain situation. But if you really make the habit of stopping every hour for 1 minute, you will find that that begins to accumulate in your nervous system, and you'll be more quick to remind yourself to slow down when you catch yourself rushing. Slow down, because it's really yucky to have the mind's in the future. When you have that idea, I've got to get there, and that's when accidents happen, or you feel very tired. So people rush around doing a lot of things in a day. Then they get tired. Then they have to flop down in their sofa at home and, take a 30-minute rest because they're, were moving too quickly. But instead, if you move at a more even pace throughout the day, you won't get tired because you keep refreshing yourself, especially if you're doing the M&Ms every hour and doing some 3-part breathing every time you remember it. Just take, 2 or 3 or 4 or even 6 3-part breaths is really one of the most powerful ways to really bring the mind into the body, and it affects the nervous system too. That slow, deep breathing is known to help shift the parasympathetic nervous system over to the, to shift from the sympathetic nervous system, which is the excited one, into the more mellow, the parasympathetic side of the nervous system. So even just doing 6 to 9 or 3-part breaths is enough to do that. So these are probably some of the important ways, especially if you find yourself not being able to sit longer. You should be able to do those M&Ms. But it's a good complement. If you're able to do the morning and evening practice, some yoga practice, the yoga is good too, because that's why people don't feel like sitting. Their body's got a lot of pain, or they're too tired. They sit down and they just immediately kind of go to sleep or start thinking about their worries and so, or fears, or what they got to do. So the yoga is an easy way to get, almost immediate way to bring the mind to the body. And even if you just did 3 or 4 of those stretches, even if you don't have a yoga mat, you just can do it standing. Even 3 or 4 of those, and we know the deep, slow breathing and pausing in between, even in 10 minutes, you would almost be meditating. You sit down and you don't have to spend a lot of time trying to focus your mind, because your mind is kind of already most of the way there in terms of, feeling the body and breathing. So, and also studying the Dhamma. It's good to read some suttas. A lot of people want to read these books by other people, but and they may be good, but really to read the actual teachings of the Buddha, these suttas, especially the Theravada suttas that are very direct and to the point, they're really good, especially the Dhammapada. The Dhammapada is a small booklet with these little stanzas, like, what we chanted, Mano Pubangama Dhamma, just a short 4-line stanza. And, then you can kind of contemplate that during the day, the meaning of that. So that's part of developing the right understanding and the right thought, because the more that you read the Dhamma and think about it, the more you're going to be motivated to keep your daily practice of meditation there. Because everybody knows, if you leave it off, even if you leave off the yoga practice for a week or 2, you can't stretch as much as you could. Now, you've been practicing some of these stretches for 8-9 days now. And, probably people notice their flexibility, but if you don't kind of keep it up, or at least a little bit, the body will, stiffen back up. And the same with our mind. Our mind is like a muscle. The ability to have mindfulness, the ability to notice when you're getting caught up in your thoughts, to be able to let go of them, be able to endure pain a little bit more. All of that is, a training of the mind, but it needs regular daily training. Now, this kind of practice is like brushing your teeth or taking a bath every day. Now, most people find the time to brush their teeth or take a bath. How is that? Your life's so busy. How do you find time to brush your teeth or take a bath? So why do you brush your teeth or take a bath? Now, people will say a lot of reasons, well, to stay clean and healthy. It comes down, you don't want to stink, right? You don't want to stink to your mates, your housemates, or even your boss at work, or other people on the subway. They get up and they go away. So people find the time to do that. But what about the stink of our mind? What is the stink of our mind? Somebody who's always, complaining about things, and using bad language, or just, complaining about everything, and just or babbling off, conceited, pride and conceited about things, and boasting and all these things. So some people are like a ticking time bomb. You kind of don't know what's going to happen. You don't like to be too close to them. So when you practice the daily meditation, that will help the mind feel more sweet, and also your actions are more mindful and smooth flowing. You are. People will notice that, and they'll come by more often and want to just pick up on your vibes or something. And remember that, especially the precept about talking about others. That's very difficult for people to control. Telling lies is one thing you get in a lot of trouble for, but also talking about others behind their backs, trying to ruin their reputation by pointing out their faults and by hiding your own. The ego is very clever, trying to protect its turf, right? So it's doing all kinds of things to get people to look at others rather than themselves in terms of their faults and all that. So there's many ways of, practicing the Dhamma, and all of that accumulates. So, I want to wish you all the best in your practice, and hope you can use some of these things. Now, I've taught a lot of things, right, in the last 10 days, a lot. You may not remember them all. And but each person will find that maybe one or two of them was especially, helpful. And so that's good, and take those one or two things and to integrate it into your meditation to see if it makes the meditation a little bit more enjoyable.